Hey everybody, welcome to Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. My name is Reed with Best Made Videos. We are a wedding videography company based out of West Seattle, Washington. And I'm so excited that this guy reached out to me this week to come on the podcast, Nigel Lindsey with Revolution by the Barrel. We had met, I think, a year ago at a wedding open house, a couple of them. And I was sitting there and I was, we're putting all of our focus into the Best Made Weddings podcast now. And I was slacking on lining up guests for the Get to Know Your Wedding Pro podcast. And I'm so glad that you reached out and had kind words to say about the podcast. And then we could bring you on. And I said, well, hey, this is great. Let's get you on and let's talk. So Nigel Lindsey, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So first off, thank you for bringing me on. Like I said, my name is Nigel Lindsey. I'm the owner of Revolution by the Barrel. We're a bar catering company that focuses on classic and craft cocktails, but obviously doesn't shy us from doing like beer and wine events. I've started this company about 4 years ago and kind of started when I went to a beautiful wedding and we had like something crazy to me. I think it was like scallops. And I saw how nice everything was. And then I went to the bar and I was offered a Jack and Coke. And I was like, well, that's kind of disrespectful. So knowing the expertise that I had in bartending, I thought there was an opening for something that I wanted to do, which is crafting classic cocktails, because I enjoy my Manhattans just as much as my whiskey smashes and something a little bit over the top sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, that's great. And we were just talking a little off mic about getting you incorporated into the Best Made Weddings and upcoming roundtable too, because I do think, first off, we don't get enough representation with bar services and everything on the podcast in general. I love to get more voices of that vendor type. And then I do think, alcohol service with everything going on right now is going to be so important to just, manage just guests and everything. We were at a wedding last night, our second one of the year since kind of all this has happened. And it was I did not think very safe service from me watching guests and everything all night. And so anyway, I so appreciate you coming on and people that do this, because I think it's so underrated how important it is to have, quality cocktails and more importantly, have somebody responsible kind of like managing all of that stuff. So thank you. How did you get involved in all this? I mean, you seem like a knowledgeable guy, really personable. How did you get involved in kind of running your own, company?
Yeah. So when I first started, it was just me and I was called Mobile Mixology. I was lead bartender. I was transitioning from lead bartender to bar manager at the Marriott, and a couple of guests that routinely came in asked me to bartend a couple of weddings. And I thought it was like a fun idea. So I was like, okay, well, mobile mixology, I'll just do this on the side. This was probably right around the time that my first daughter was being born. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect. I can supplement some income, create an education savings account, what have you. And then I found that there was a bigger need for it because I started looking online for competitors in the area, Snohomish County, and I didn't see too many. And I didn't see people that were doing the things I love to do. So I revamped, started Revolution by the Barrel because I love whiskey, which was the barrel came from. And I thought this was revolutionary kind of times and for what I was trying to create. So it came up with the name and I just took off from there. Started doing corporate events, weddings. I think I've done a bat and a bat mitzvah. Just been having fun ever since.
Yeah, and especially I just think the Seattle area is so I think refined. I don't even know if that's the right word, but they're really knowledgeable about, they like to have good cocktails, like to have good beer. I mean, maybe that's true just in this times we are in anyway. People are getting more refined, but I do think Seattle has a good palate for that. So I definitely think, and when guests go to weddings and want to be entertained and feel like they're having a good time out, right? Do you feel like how do you feel like you guys, is your vision to kind of elevate that experience a guests have at the wedding? What is your, what was your thesis when you wanted to start your company and what did you want to achieve?
Yeah. So one line thesis, everybody deserves more than Jack and Coke every time. I understand that's a lot of people's favorite drinks and it's go-to, but my thing is, I can't remember the name of the movie with Tom Cruise. It's called Cocktail, where there's like a whole bunch of high fructose corn syrup and their drinks and like apple pucker sour and you're going all crazy like this. I'm more of a fresh ingredients, making the simple syrups yourself in the commissary kitchen, coming up with cool garnishes. So with that, it's just adding to the creativity and the culture that you're bringing in on these weddings, right? With everybody's putting so much money into flowers and arrangements, putting money into the dresses and the suits and video services. All this comes out to one beautiful thing that I want to make sure that the cocktails also complement that. I want to make sure that we're using fresh ingredients to go ahead and complement the food that you're going to be having that evening. Because anybody can make a Jack and Coke, but not too many bartenders know how to go out of their way and make an aviation, right? So kind of want to just bring something new, a bit different perspective, and something that people can enjoy for a reasonable price.
That's great. So, did you have a like a background in entrepreneurship? I mean, how did you know? Because it's not everyone just says, "Hey, I'm going to go start a bartending business." So how did you, like,
Yeah.
how did that come about your mind?
Yeah, so I've known for a long time that I've always wanted to have my own business. I remember that I talked about it when I used to do job shadows at my mom's work. She used to work at a law firm, and the head lawyer that I used to follow all the time there, he was just like, "Oh, so Nigel, where are you going to go to law school?" And I was like, "Well, I really actually want to go to business school. I want to own my own business. Who owns this building? Like, I want to have multiple buildings or something of that sort." The so the whole business aspect has always been just a dream to have some type of ownership, to give something and to create something that lasts. You see a lot of different businesses that people own, and I don't know too many people that own bartending empires, right? Or like large businesses like that. So I was like, oh, this is definitely something that intrigues me. I enjoy doing it. I have fun. And long as those components are there, then why not create a business out of it? There's a need for it, right? So, yeah, I've always been driven towards entrepreneurship. I have a majoring in econ, so I was always looking at economics and that line. So worked out.
Yeah, that's the thing nowadays is having a degree, and besides like all the computer coding or everything they're telling everyone to study now, but having some sort of business or finance or some sort of degree, I think is so important. And especially nowadays, so many people want to have businesses, but like have no idea what they're doing, or like I spent how many years trying to figure out like what is profits and losses and all that stuff. And that would be my advice for anybody. Don't get a broadcast degree like I did. Go get go get a finance degree. So you had a background in service, right? You said you were working at the hotels and stuff. How did you get involved in the service industry?
Yeah, so I was a broke college student. That's that's how it happened. I was 21. I was originally went to college to run track. I believed I was going to be the fastest 400 hurdler that was known to man. Unbeknownst to me, I was going to get injured, and also unbeknownst to me, I was not the fastest. I was beat quite a bit. And when I got injured, I lost my scholarship. So I had to start working. I was 21 at the time, and there was a bar. It was actually I worked at the Monte Cristo, and I worked at that venue for a little bit. And then from there, I worked for this mom and pop shop called Craven Cajun, and I was their only bartender and their server. And the only real bartending experience I really knew or had was frat parties, which is pathetic. And then from there, I became lead bartender at a different pub, and then went to the Marriott. So I just transitioned this because I was working in the evening and still going to school in the daytime. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So where were you going to go to school for track?
So I was going to Everett Community College, but I had a partial to move over to Western.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So did you grow up always competing and stuff? Did that as a track athlete? Is it what was it about that excited you?
So it worked out for me because I was too small for basketball and football. So I was decent at football. I played corner, but I wasn't good enough. Like I was like maybe about a buck 45, right? And so anytime anybody comes up to me, they're just like throwing me across the field. And despite thinking I could be like T.O., I was just too small. And so with track, though, it didn't change anything, right? So my speed was still there. And I think that was key. With track, it was on me, and I didn't have to rely on a team. And then even if there was people that were bigger than me, doesn't mean that they're faster than me. 9 times out of 10, that just meant they were slower than me, really. So that's kind of how that went out. But yeah, I was doing sports, my whole life. I can't remember when I started sports, but I just know that I continued throughout this whole time, played football, started doing track when I was in seventh grade, I think, seventh or sixth, and never stopped. Yeah.
That's fascinating. It's so interesting to me to hear like everyone's story and about the little things in life that could change. Like I know when I went to school and it was one conversation I had one day that got me into TV, right? That got me to where I
Yeah.
am now. And who knows what that track would that not pardon the pun or whatever, but who
No,
knows
no, I
what
get what
path
you're
that would
saying.
have been. But now I mean it's just fascinating, right? Like had that injury not what happened, was it just the athletic thing? I mean I don't want to.
Yeah, no. So I remember like it was yesterday. I was doing the UW Indoor Classic, and we are doing the 60, which I told my coach I did not want to do the 60, but you can't argue with your coach anyway. I was doing the 60, it was the last 40, and I pulled my hamstring, which isn't that bad of an injury. But then when I was still trying to finish, I hurt my ankle on the last thing. So I couldn't run for probably like about a month. And then on top of that, after that, I couldn't like do any squats or anything, or else it would just keep re-injuring itself. So I had some type of tear, and I never really got it fully looked at. So then they're just like, well, based off everything, you're not squatting over 200 anymore. You're not like really up to par. So we have to take this, unfortunately. So yeah.
Wow. And so
Yeah.
then, but they got you on the path. I mean, that's just fascinating, just, I
Yeah.
mean, not one little, I mean, that was obviously a major thing, but, just one thing to change. Um, when you started deciding from going from like I always say, when vendors of any type, right, it's one thing to be a bartender or do photos or whatever, and then it's another thing to run a business doing that. Was that scary for you? Was that what did you think, what were you afraid of, because everyone had to have been afraid of something starting their business, right? Like what was it like kind of getting into that?
Yeah. So I definitely was afraid. It took a lot of like long nights, figuring out how my pricing model and everything was going to be. But my biggest fear, I think, when I first started, was somebody figuring out that I just started, right? And somebody being like, "Oh, you don't know anything," you know. So I think that was my biggest fear. But as time goes on, every event that I was going to, since I've done so many sports, it was just all competitive, right? So that fear kind of went out the window, just kind of like when I was stepping on the track. Even though I knew people around me had better times, I just stopped caring. And I just was like, okay, well, I know that for this wedding, I need to be the best. I know they probably don't know any other bar catering company, but I know I'm going to be doing better than anybody they believe that they have had before or had options to do. And the same thing when we go to, those big showcase houses. Like I know there's other bar catering companies there, completely nice people. My idea is when I go in there that I have to be better than them, right? My times have to be faster than them. My drinks have to be better than them and everything like that. So,
No, that's so funny. Like you said, just kind of faking it till you make it. I don't know. I
yeah,
mean, I think
yeah,
everyone, it's not anything to be ashamed about. We, our wedding last night, my assistant that was with me, he's going to college in the fall. And so this is kind of his last, whatever this season ends up being. And we were talking about, cause he's been with me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And it was like, man, that first year that you started, like we had no clue what we were doing. And now, it's like a somewhat well-oiled machine, but it's so cool to like
yeah.
be able to look back, right? And are you proud of how far you've come? How do you feel like it's gone in the last 4 years now?
Yeah, in the last 4 years, I'm so proud of everything. We're consistently changing, so it's beautiful to me because my thing has always been like creating some type of culture in what we're doing. Because before the weddings, we were doing rock shows, which was like completely unique. Because I don't know how often you go to like indie rock shows, but or just any type of music venue, but you're not getting a classic or craft cocktail at those, right? So in downtown Everett, we would be pouring up Manhattans at your local indie rock show, and I thought that was like kind of cool with growth. But you know, yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, everything. This whole journey has been very exciting because there's always just been like one different change here or a new bar there, and the new people that keep being added onto our team are adding different perspectives and creating this ultimate culture I love to stand behind because we're continuing to elevate. So it's never like a stop on learning kind of thing, right?
What was you were saying? So the indie shows. You mean when you guys were starting and trying to book gigs or whatever? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah. So we're doing like, so we weren't booking wedding. There was a point in period when we weren't booking weddings, and since I bartended at it wasn't a dive bar, but it was like a music venue bar, and I knew a lot of the artists, and they were doing other shows, and I was just like, hey, we'd love to bartend for you, like give you 10% or 15% of the sales, and I'll price drinks out at $7 or something like that. They're like, okay, yeah, what are you making? Like, just simple drinks, PBRs and stuff like that. I was like, no, no, we're going to be making like garden tonics and palomas and and whiskey smashes. And they're like, all right, man, okay, whatever, as long as we're still getting the sales, all right. And then we'd go there, we do it, and people are just having a blast. I mean, I think the first one we did smoked cocktails, which I would never do again for a music venue,
Yeah.
but it was because it would just take too long. But when we started doing still these craft cocktails, people were just like, wow, this is better than a PBR. Okay, whatever. It's similar, not too far up on the price. Like, okay, we could do this all the time. We can drink this all day. So,
Where does that knowledge come from? Is it just trial and error, or how do you figure all this stuff out?
like as far as the drinks,
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of experimenting, and then also just research. So I follow a lot of different bartenders that I respect, and I see what they're doing, and then I try to create something similar. Play with different tastes. Also, I'll look at different food items and then think if I could put that into a drink. As of recent, we've been playing a lot with cilantro for some of the things that we're about to come out with, and that's going to be exciting. But yeah, it's just mostly just trial and error. I've had a lot of bad drinks. That's how it's happened. I've had a smorgasbord of disgusting drinks, but out of those have come beautiful drinks as well. And my fiance and some of my best friends have also had a lot of bad drinks too.
Yeah, I'm sure. But you're still getting some alcohol, right? So maybe it's not the worst
Exactly.
thing to be,
Yeah, it's not that bad.
to be. Hey, I'll come over and try some of these.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's gotten that people are a lot more accepting just of? I mean, you could make a cocktail out of anything nowadays, right? And people
Yeah.
would kind of be like, I mean, do you feel like you have a lot more freedom now to kind of play around with that stuff?
Well, I felt like I always had the freedom because I was the one with the alcohol. So like if
Yeah.
somebody was like, hey, let's go hang out with Nigel, who's going to make a couple of drinks. I didn't feel like I had to hold back from what I was going to make because they're getting free alcohol. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've gotten my critiques in the past when we've done certain events. People haven't liked certain things. But yeah, no, I felt like I've always had the freedom to go ahead and create because I expressed that right off the bat, that I am just trying to add on to the culture that you're seeing. I'm trying to be a part of this in some type of creative method. I figure some of the drinks that we're making is similar to art, right? So don't get me wrong, it's not a Basquiat or a Picasso, but the time and skill that we're putting into it is just something unique there. So it's just a part of this whole situation. So I really go on this real deep dive, and then people are just like, all right, cool, just make me whatever, I guess then.
When it comes to booking weddings and working with couples, do you find that what kinds of couples, I guess, first off, what kinds of people do you find are attracted to work with you and the weddings that you guys do now? What are they people that want, professional bartending service? Are they people that are really excited about, awesome craft cocktails? Is it a combination? Like what kinds of, what excites people to work with you guys?
Yeah. So a lot of people, despite, we put it on the website, we have it on the Instagram and different chains, to know that a lot of people don't know that we're doing craft and classic cocktails, and that's our specialty. But so we get a wider range things. Like I think my upcoming wedding is just beer and wine. So we decided also to add in some mocktails because I was like, let's just have fun, just have one or two mocktails in there. But the people that we do get I definitely get a lot more people that want a professional bartender, somebody that knows their way around a cocktail to make the event special in every situation. But there is still a good 40% that are just like, well, we've seen what you did and we heard about you from some X, Y, and Z. Please come and join. This is what we're doing. Yeah.
Do you ever get the opportunity? Do you guys like ever put together like the his and her drinks or any sorts of stuff like that? I know I see those. I don't think we did that at our wedding, but I know that that's like a big thing.
Yeah. So with the first consultation, when I'm talking to people, I just ask them what they want, what their dream wedding looks like, and what it looks like on the alcohol side, what they like to drink. I so we have people that say his and hers drinks, but I don't kind of tailor to that. So the way that the business model is there is if you want mixed cocktails, you want craft cocktails, let's have some craft cocktails. You're not limited to two by me. Now, if the venue says, hey, you can only have two, that's one thing. I'm not going to overstep in that boundary. But um, I've done a wedding where we had five different cocktails. I don't try to go over that number because that's just a lot, but I let them know, we can get very experimental as far as they want. And will sit down, and I'll also, if pre-COVID, when we're meeting a lot more, I would, make a couple of different cocktails for them and just say, hey, how do you like about this one? Try to make something that's spirit forward, something that's refreshing, and something that has a lot of different flavors into it, something more like fruity or, sweet. So I do see a lot of his and hers to answer that question, but for the most part, I let them know when they want a his and hers that we can break outside that box. It doesn't have to be just that.
Do you and we thought so you guys you're able to service kind of multiple events on a day. How is it like kind of managing a team? And I mean, I know that we split a little bit. It's always nerve-wracking for me, to send out people. How does it work? Do you enjoy kind of that management role of kind of overseeing and helping train other people and share ideas?
I do like the idea of sharing ideas. I can't say I love the idea of management. I prefer to be the bartender at all times. I think it's just so much more fun. But it works out because it works out when all our weddings are in Washington because I like to touch base at every place. So I try to show up there early, introduce myself. If I haven't met them already, introduce the bartenders and just kind of get a feel for the venue, and then go on to the next spot and then find a spot that I'm going to be at for a couple hours and then do the same thing for closing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like we were setting up like a live stream and stuff yesterday, and I'm running around sweating my life away trying to get everything going. And yeah, my assistant's just like, oh, I'm just getting shots at the table or whatever. And I'm like, it is nice, right, to not have to be in like that leadership role sometimes. It is
Yes.
nice
Yes.
just
It's
to actually be able to focus on what you want to do, making the good drinks.
Yeah, exactly. I find it so much more fun just to make cocktails and sit behind the table instead of being like, okay, well, I make sure that we have all these ice bucks here. Okay, you guys are good. That the cake's running fine, perfect. Now let me go over here and check in with the wedding over at Mount Vernon. Oh, okay, let me check in the wedding at Seattle. So it's adapting. As we're bringing on more people, we're doing more weddings on multiple days or just within that. It's adaptation consistently.
And we don't want to date, don't have to date this too much, and we don't need to get into too many specifics, but have you guys had to do a lot of knowledge training now with, with everything going on with COVID and everything and kind of get used to that? Has that been just in terms of talking about adaptation and, having things thrown in the loop, has that been, I'm sure a fun adventure to kind of figure out when we get back to weddings, kind of what all that's going to look like?
Yeah. So consistent conversations with wedding venues about what their expectations are based off of what I'm learning because I'm in Snohomish County. And then having conversations with my team. So the conversations usually go meeting on Tuesday for an hour with the venue that we're going to go see. Then it's me doing the research to double check that everything is fine and making sure things aren't updated. And then me having a meeting with my team about how things are going to go. And then having a meeting also with that bride and groom where the lucky couple and just letting them know, hey, this is what this will look like, and we'll make sure to manage it this way so there isn't X, Y, and Z happening.
Do you find that you're more, and obviously you don't work with a lot of other, it's like me, like I don't work with a lot of my competition, but do you find that you're pretty hands-on just in terms of working with the couples that you have and figuring, making sure everything's going to go good because I think any vendor type, some DJs just show up, and then there's some DJs, right, that are really involved, and there's some bartenders that just show up, and some. Do you find that you guys are more kind of hands-on in terms of that role?
Oh yeah, definitely hands-on. I try to keep an open line of communication. So they have my personal cell phone number. As soon as things are booked, which I haven't gotten any like real late calls or texts, but occasionally I'm notorious for sometimes not saving numbers, but the text history is in there, right? So I know based off of the date and the time who it is, and also I have it linked to their profile. But occasionally I'll just get some random number that's just hitting me up, just saying, "Hey, Nigel, questions about this," and then my fiance is like, "Who's texting you right now, or who's calling you right now?" But no, I try to keep an open line of communication throughout the whole process, and then even thereafter, just letting them, checking in with them before they leave, and just thanking them for allowing us to be a part of their ceremony, because this is by far usually the most expensive and biggest event that's going to be a part of their life. So I try to be as interpersonal as possible. I find that really helps. A lot of my actually business isn't even driving from Instagram or the website. It's based off of word of mouth and people that have seen me at, other events or have had an opportunity to talk to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so just under represented sometimes just how important having quality quality cocktails and everything. Just having professional, like I said, our wedding last night, I do think got a little out of hand, and it you have to have because I was even trying to figure out like, okay, is this with are they with the venue, like what's going on here, and it is just you need to have a good, if you're bridegroom, whoever, planning the wedding, you need to have open lines of communication with who's going to be taking care of your alcohol and making sure how much you need, and making sure that there's going to be people there that are going to regulate that stuff. I just think it can't be understated.
Yeah, no. I offer this service. So prior to us, when I was called Mobile Mixology, I didn't have the liquor license where I can buy the liquor for them or even sell it, because we're licensed insured and we have that liquor license as well, which is a fun process to go through to obtain that. But prior to doing that, I was offering drink consultation because, like I said earlier, I was a bar manager for a while. So I was doing all this ordering, and I pretty much just try to make sure people don't have cases on cases of wine as they leave. Because I've been to a couple weddings where there'll be like 12 or to 18 bottles left in a full keg in the back. And I'm just like, wow, that sucks, So yeah, trying to make sure that everybody is like, there's that open line of communication to make sure nothing is too much with not only the venue, but with the couple. And of course, if they have the day of coordinator, I try to talk so much to them just because, don't get me wrong, whoever's getting married, it's for them, but that communication isn't really with them. It's with the day of coordinator 9 times out of 10, right? They're the ones that are running around with their head cut off, it seems like, most of the time. So just try to keep that open line of communication at all times and try to assist as much as possible.
Yeah, and so you were talking about, so you guys you're covered on all the angles now, right? In terms of the license stuff. So I guess, and that's also an important thing if people don't, know that, right? Or, to stand apart. So just, I guess, talk about the importance of being able to handle all those different aspects now that you guys have.
Yeah, with the insurance, we're $1 million per occurrence, $2 million aggregate. And that is mainly not only safekeeping for us, but safekeeping for everybody involved, including the venue. We add them as additional insured. And we just want to make sure, I think when you're hiring a bartender, even if you don't hire us, you want to make sure you're protected, because nobody can see into the future, right? So nobody knows what is going to happen. And it's just best to be safe on that. With the liquor license, since we were doing these events in the past, I wanted to make sure everything was just straight across the board. I didn't want any trouble. And I've already dealt with them before. I've dealt with them on multiple occasions. So with that, the importance I find there is that we can take care of a lot more things and take things off the plate for the people that are getting married, or even for private events. Because a lot of people don't have that experience. We did an event for T-Mobile last year around this time, and the person reached out to me 3 days before the event, and it was 700 people. And they're like, well, we don't know how many kegs to get. Can you just get all this stuff? And I was just like, yeah, we can get all this stuff, I guess, for you, because they just don't know. And that's fine, because that wasn't their role, right? This is my expertise. So why not have all this? And I find it very important just to take off that burden, because you have so many stressors. And if we could help in any way, I think that's just most important.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially in your role where, there is so much liability and questions and like, what is legal? What is allowed? I don't
Yeah.
know. What can we, you see people post online all the time, like, we just want to have a thing with ice and beer and people can come grab it. And you're like, okay, well that's, you can't really
Yeah.
do that. Or, so it's just so nice because, I, I firmly believe most of the time couples don't want to break the law. They just don't necessarily know that they are breaking the law, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody will Google, different ideas for their wedding and they'll be like, oh, that's cute. And not knowing like, oh, that's also illegal. Granted, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this. Have I ever seen liquor board come to a wedding? No. But, you just want to make sure. You just want to make sure that everybody is comfortable and nothing can happen. So yeah, we just like to take that lasting pressure off. So yeah.
Absolutely. You talked about fiance. Tell me about that. What was as a wedding vendor? What's it like, kind of going through that process?
You know, I am the typical gentleman that just stays back. I just when she asks of something, I will just say, "Hey, these are the people I know work really hard." But that's it. So it's actually very unique because she asked me a lot of questions. I'm like, "All right, cool. This is fine. Here goes the list. You choose. We can go meet with a whole bunch of people." Um, it doesn't really bother me too much. I'm just my biggest thing is I'm like whatever venue we go to, they have to allow hard alcohol. So besides that, it's been pretty swell. We actually got everything done except for flowers, and my fiance would know more of what we didn't get done. But I feel like the way my bank account looked, we got everything done in a month as far as deposits.
Are
So within the first month I proposed, she looked at me and thought about it for, a couple weeks. No, I'm joking. She thought about it. She just said yes. And then we're done within the month to my understanding. So it was nice.
are you guys in jeopardy this summer? Or are you guys far enough out?
We're in talks with the wedding venue currently, because our wedding venue is in King County, because I have family in Seattle and it's just a little bit easier. Right now at this time, we're kind of just up in the air because we don't know because we have over 200 people. So we don't know what's really going to happen with that. So they've worked with us. We're consistently working. So we'll see what happens. It most likely will be pushed the year though. Most likely.
It's so tough. I mean, here you are, right? I mean, we're all, and we were even lamenting kind of before we got recording about, dealing with, not dealing, but, working with couples right now, postponing and, what's happening with the season. And then here you guys are, with your own wedding as well, right? So you're like
Yeah.
you're super sympathetic, right? Because you're like, I know exactly what you're going through.
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as COVID hit, and I was like, okay, this is 100% real. And immediately I was just letting people know, hey, just give me 45 days notice. If you want to switch your date, I'll work with you to the best of your ability. And I'll just make sure that we have it available. Yeah. For like, if you want to do the exact same date, whatever, that exact same Saturday next year, I'll put that in there. Just let me know how you feel when you feel it. I'm not going to try to change too much. As long as we're all doing the exact same services, that's fine. Cause it's tough and it's stressful because this is something that nobody accounted for. Right. So yeah, it's definitely been unique.
Yeah, I don't, we don't need to dwell on the negative too much. I don't know too many wedding vendors that are also planning the wedding and going through the same, not to laugh, but you know what I mean? That
No. Yeah.
I don't think I've talked to anyone yet that's actually going through both sides of it. So that's,
yeah. It's quite funny. So like I'll be working on my business and then, Molly will come in, that's fiance, and she'll be like, hey, did you reach out to the DJ and tell them about a couple of songs that I liked? And I was like, no, nope. We'll get that done too. Or did you do this? Or can we do that? Like, this weekend. I'm like, yeah, I guess yeah, we'll fit that in.
yeah, that's,
So,
talk to me about, you were talking, and you were even so graciously going to drop one off at the house, the craft, the cocktail kits.
yes,
Talk to me
yeah.
about that. Is that something new now with kind of everything going on and trying to adjust, or is that something that's been in the works? And what is that?
So actually, what happened when I first got that liquor license, there was a sale at Young's Market for 120 bourbon whiskey airplane bottles. And so 3 years ago, I was just like, all right, I'll buy it, whatever. I'm going to use this for some point in time. We'll use this something cool. Then I didn't think about doing the research to see how I could sell them, you know? And so I was like, oh, I can't do anything with these. So they're just like sitting there, collecting dust. And luckily for me, alcohol doesn't spoil. So, COVID hits and things change, rules change. And I got called liquor board. I was like, hey, I have all this. I want to sell them. And so what we started to do was make craft cocktail kits. They're happy hour kits. The first one we released is bourbon. We're also have a brunch kit, and we have a tequila kit too. So the bourbon one comes with enough ingredients to make 2 mint juleps and 2 brown derbies. And then the tequila one, we have a cilantro paloma, and then we have a jalapeno pineapple margarita for another one. And then the brunch kit is just a standard Prosecco and little brunch thing that we have going there. But yeah, no, that kind of all, we started that just because we're like, well, we don't know what else to do. We're doing the virtual bartending right now. Let's just get these out. People aren't drinking really. They can't go to bars. And when they are making drinks for themselves, I'm assuming it's not that good because they don't have like some of that prior experience. So let's add some fun, and people would still kind of feel like they're at a happy hour, right? So yeah.
I love it. No, I think it's like that. I was just talking to my mom about, she does that Blue Apron thing, right? Where they say,
oh yeah, yes, yeah.
But it's like the same. I don't even know. Is this something, I've just never heard of that before. Maybe it's something that people have done with the drinks, but I think that that's great. And especially something local that you can ship out or drop off or whatever. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I haven't seen it, but I know Blue Apron. I've tried that, and there was like another thing. I think it was like HelloFresh with food,
Yeah.
which also cultivated that idea. But I think that, yeah, I think it's really cool. I do usually people put in an order and I'll drop it off that same day, just because it's really easy for me, and I'm usually around happy hour time because I was just thinking about what my schedule is usually like. So I get there before 7, and I just drop it off. I've had people that will ship it out to other people as a gift. Did a couple of when you're asking somebody to be your groomsman, so it was like your groomsman gift, and so we've done a lot of that, and also just for some people that just wanted to have, that are having like small get-togethers that order like 4 or 5 at once, and we'll put them in a big case, and it's nice and presentable, and we'll just be like, well, have fun, enjoy your party. Here goes the instructions.
Yeah. And then talk to me about the virtual bartending too, because I know that, and even my wife's, her family did the online cooking thing, right? And just had a blast. And I know that that's kind of a thing now. What is that? Have you guys done a lot of those? How is that going?
Yeah, we've done our fair share of them. It was actually my fiance that brought that up as an idea a while back. And I was like, well, I don't want to be in our living room behind a bar talking to on my like computer. Then COVID hit, and I was like, you make the best ideas, babe.
Right.
But yeah, so the virtual bartending, it's just pretty much us teaching people how to make cocktails. So I'll do one mocktail, and then I'll do one specialty cocktail, or we could do more. It's just really dependent. And I go into a deep dive into why we've chose that spirit, what the type of notes from the spirit, and just also explain how we create that and create other cocktails similar. And the same thing with the mocktail, right? So I think for the last one we did, it was a cold brew mint julep. And we also did, I can't remember the hard alcohol drink we did, but I just talked to people about like, how to create it. And it's a step-by-step process. Well, I see, like a couple of people on the other side just going about it creating, and they're asking some questions about how it goes. And also hear some funny stories about how people are, the shaker just slipped out on them and it's all over the floor kind of, but it's been a fun thing.
Is that like a shopping list thing, or how does that work for them on the other side?
Yeah. So what will happen is once booked, I will tell them, like I'll work with them on what they want to do. So I'll send them a list of different ideas for a menu. And then I'll say, okay, hey, if we're going to do these drinks, this is what you need. And this is the quantity in which you'll need them. If you want to do more, obviously if you're going to have a couple people over, this is what it's going to be like. And then from there, we just go step by step with the bartending. It's just really slowed down bartending in detail about why I'm making it this way. Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's a fun.
Yeah.
I think people are so on both sides, right? I think people are so starved for fun entertainment, and I think also like us as vendors, right, are so used to interacting with the public and going to events and working events, and like I was talking with people last night. I'm like, I haven't seen this many people in months, right? And I just
Yeah.
think it's so underrated, right? How much we thrive on kind of that public interaction and working with trying to make people happy, right? Like with what you do with serving drinks and everything.
Yeah, it's definitely been weird. I feel like it's not that I don't know how to bartend. I feel rusty, you
Yeah.
know? Even when we're doing the virtual, it's just like, all right, well, I'm only making like one or two drinks here. It's not like I have a line of people waiting for me or people consistently coming up, talking to me and everything like that. Nope, it's just me in my garage in front of my computer having a blast, talking to people virtually. That's great, but it's definitely yeah, it's unique. I'm excited to go out and bartend with my team and have a keg explode on me for some random reason. Like I'm looking forward to everything that can transpire for us to get back to whatever needs to be.
Exactly. Yeah. What are you seem like someone that has a lot of ideas, right? A lot of passion. Once we kind of get back to whatever this new normal is, where do you want to see you guys, grow or expand or be better at? Where do you want to see in the next couple of years?
Yeah. Hopefully within the next 3 to 5 years, part of me would like a wedding venue that can also just be all encompassing space for artists. Um, and I think that would be the biggest thing that I would like to see. So I want to keep working on that, making the bar catering company something big, and then eventually just have our own collective space where we have, weddings or art shows, fashion shows, just everything. Every time in the like synopsis of what I say in my business, I say that we're creating culture. I want to build something just beautiful for all different areas to come into. So I think that's the biggest thing. That's where I want to grow to, is get to the point to own my own venue. And then also be recognized in a couple other states. Right now we're in Washington and Oregon. I have some connections in Atlanta, Georgia. So maybe that'll be our next stop. So move a little bit outside the state by still, taking care of things here. But yeah, and then hopefully get a venue sometime in the future.
When you talk about artists and building the space, do you do things artsy wise besides making drinks? I don't know. I have no hobbies except
No,
working,
no,
so it's
I'm
hard for me to
well,
ask.
I have very extensive record collection, and that's actually how I really get creative. So I really love music, but my family are full of artists. One of my cousin is a famous DJ out in Seattle. My stepdad was a very famous DJ as well, and it's so. And my uncle DJ, a lot of DJs around me. But there's DJs that have music artists. My best friend, my cousin. So I'm surrounding myself by a lot of different people that are in some sort of art space. One of my good friends is a local artist here, and he makes beautiful things, and that's kind of why I want to create that, just for people to have something, right? To have this space that they call their own. Not that there isn't other spaces that they're welcome to, but I think it's always great when you are the best friend or cousin of somebody that has created something for all of us, some type of collective. But no, I just love art and creativity. It helps me. It's like therapeutic, you know?
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks,
That's
man.
great. I think
Yeah.
you've killed it today. I think it's been great getting to chat with you. I think you've brought a lot of energy and excitement. I really appreciate you coming on. If anything else before we let you go, any other this is get to know your wedding pro. What is something that you wish more people knew or asked about? Could be personal, could be business. I think it's been really fun today.
Yeah. So Nigel is my real name. It's not a name that I invented as a moniker. Um, you know, Revolution by the Barrel is exactly that. It's a revolutionary cocktail catering company that wants to bring the best thing for you. We're focused on classic and craft cocktails and stop us from beer and wine. And most importantly, we want to create a culture for whatever type of event that you're having. everybody has the best experience. And we have enough staff to do these big events as 700 people. But we could also do, your 25-person wedding, which might be coming up here soon next week. So follow us on our social media and, have a chat with me, have a chat with my team, get to know us a little bit. Let's enjoy a drink together, get a cocktail kit. Yeah.
I love it. And it's revolutionbythebarrel.com. I think it's a great name, and Instagram and everything else, easy to find. So good work with that.
Thank you. I mean, we're currently updating the website today, but it'll be finished by tonight, hopefully. So hopefully nobody goes on there and is just like, oh, it's under construction.
No, it's good. This has been great. And thank you, taking time on a Sunday. I know that, you work and so I always, the vendors that take the time, right, to make the time to do things like this, I think speaks a lot, for people's just dedications to what they're doing. And so I think it's great. I really appreciate you for coming on. Yeah,
no problem. Oh, can I say one last thing? So I forgot to bring up that we do a lot of things within the community. I won't go too deep. But we're always out at the Rainier Beach Garden. We do a lot of volunteering over there, or a lot of planting, and also work heavily with the NAACP. So you will see us around a lot. So if you have any questions about any of the work that we're doing, we're going to be implementing that. So then you can kind of see some of the other things that we're doing outside. No, it doesn't really flow, but I just feel like, we're definitely a community grounded company. It's very key for me. The way I grew up, it's just, you have to be all about the community and watch us all grow together. So
I think it's great. No, and especially someone that, takes pride in their work and their community and everything else. I think it's fantastic. So I think I'm definitely glad that you made sure you shared that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Reed.
If you're like Nigel and you're interested in coming on, besides, unless you're cool like Nigel and just shoot me a private message yourself, but if you're someone I don't know and you're interested in coming on the podcast, you can go to www.bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest. And that's a nice, really easy questionnaire that we have to get you in the system, and hopefully we can set something up. Nigel, thank you again for your time. This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. Check back next week for another wedding vendor interview. Thanks so much.
Thank you.